Hello again, I'm Ernest. Many thanks for choosing us. One body has been retrieved from the receded floodwaters at Tetegu. The body of the 55-year-old man was found in his room, trapped between his bed and his sofa. Scores of residents who fled their homes on Tuesday when the flood rose to deadly levels are now returning. Maxwell reports.
From Tetegu, where the flood water has started receding, we've seen that in many parts, many of the affected areas. Previously, when we came here on Tuesday, it was difficult getting access to many of the areas, but today we're able to drive to a lot of the homes without any difficulty. The flood waters have receded, actually, and you can see from this house, very close to a channel at the back here which connects to the ocean, and they felt they experienced the intensity of the flood water here. And this is the residence of the 55-year-old man who died, unfortunately, in this flood. He's the first known person to have died in this flood. In fact, we've been speaking to our sources at the National Disaster Management Organization. They tell us that they've not had any reports about someone dying in the flood, but we spoke to our police source, a source at the Ghana Police Service, and that source confirmed to us that indeed a 55-year-old man died. He directed us to this residence, and we are here together with some of the family, members. So that is a building. That is the structure where the body was discovered. The body of the 55-year-old man was discovered. As you can see, this man working, all of his properties destroyed, by the flood. I think good morning.
Morning.
But you're frozen.
Vero.
Okay. But your matter says, "Una body no a diamond."
Aye.
But you're catching. Now, my friend saying,
"Your friend Jojo
Luchu. No any pabenza." What kind of person was he? Matisse area more now.
Oh, be anim no. Insiano by no me ko fa matare na mission no from say. Oda ho no.
Okay, inti that book of what are you a dino ho no.
I mean so da ho. Na ma ko frame me no say.
Okay.
On be sure say e bra no da ho.
The last time mu hu no no ye da ben.
Oh, Monday night, Sunday night, e da ho no. Sana Monday, na Tuesday me come market.
Was it last time I'm on Tuesday?
There be Monday.
Okay, last time I'm on Monday.
Monday. Me ni na da ho. On sana e ko market. Me so la ma chi ko market.
Okay. Or you wish ni na. Or then.
Me bra.
Okay.
That's my colleague Maxwell of the Brad there at Tetegu just a while ago. He's now at JoyNews Municipal Assembly. Maxwell, what's happening there?
Well, Ernest here at the JoyNews Municipal Assembly. Officials of the National Disaster Management Organization are getting ready to start the distribution of relief items to affected persons. They tell us that what has delayed the distribution is the compilation of the names of the affected people. Also, we are beginning to learn about the inadequacy of the relief items they intend distributed to the affected residents. We are told now, official figures from NADMO, we are told they're still working on those figures, but figures for, tentative figures now, 6,000 people, we are told, have been displaced. That is a figure coming from the National Disaster Management Organization. They tell us that they are still compiling more. But as of now, 6,000 people were affected by the flood. So, because of one, the inadequacy of the relief items that they have, and then secondly, also because of the compilation of the names, they have to delay a little bit. But they tell us that hopefully by tomorrow, they should get everything ready, and then they will get to the ground and then start distributing the items. The residents are still complaining. In Tetegu, the Tetegu community we visited today, the residents are still complaining that they don't have mattresses, and that they say is very crucial and very important, because now they have to sleep on benches because their mattresses were swept away by the flood. Also, at the Tetegu bus stop and many other bus stops here, we've seen a lot more residents returning to their home after the flood receded. Some of them we've been interacting with tell us that it's going to be a long weekend of cleaning, and that process has started already for many of them, and they're excited that the sun is out and they can dry some of the items that were not swept away by the flood. Ernest.
Thank you very much. And of course, once you're on the ground, we know that we get an update on the distribution of the relief items there and how the people are really getting their lives back. The Bank of Ghana has rejected suggestions it is largely responsible for the current economic downturn. The World Bank, in its latest Africa Pulse report, among other reasons, cited delayed and insufficient monetary policy measures to deal with the worsening indicators, especially inflation. But speaking at a monetary policy committee meeting, which saw the central bank increase the policy rate by 250 basis points to 24.5%, Governor of the Central Bank, Ernest says the measures are actually working.
And the fact that the World Bank is saying that we were even late, they are of the other view that the monetary policy tightening is the way to go, except that we are late by their assessment, which I also disagree with. Because if you would recollect, we started this policy tightening as far back as November 2021, right? It wasn't in January when we got locked out of the market that the MPC started tightening rates. We had already foreseen, issues of prices rising. And therefore, in November 2021, we did our first tightening of the monetary policy rate. We were even ahead of the Fed and some of the more advanced countries, in tightening our policy rate. And I believe even in sub-Saharan Africa, the Bank of Ghana was one of the first central banks that moved away from this easing of a monetary policy stance because of the impact of COVID, right? To the tightening stance, because we could see that it was about time that we had a shift in policy stance, because we were moving away from the impact of the pandemic into this new regime of higher inflation rates. Then the issue about whether we are seeing the impact, the transmission. In our view, this policy is working. And one of the things we focused on has been the monthly increases in the rate of inflation. If you look at it, you look at the monthly changes in inflation, there is some softening of the pace at which prices are rising. That obviously suggests that there is, at least some impact on the overall price level.
Ms. At the University of Ghana, Professor Charles Aka disagrees with the governor. Speaking on PM Express Business Edition, he called for strong fiscal policies, including the cutting of taxes to yield growth and also forestall a recession.
Yeah, I think that we need, first of all, the central bank to acknowledge that the times in which we are, the continuous tightening of the monetary policy, I don't think is optimal. It's making things more difficult and difficult, and it's not achieving the needed results, even though you could see that on a month-to-month basis, inflationary expectations seems to have slowed quite a bit. But since November that they started tightening the policy, inflation is going up. It's not only CPI, even the PPI. Producer price inflation is about 46%. Okay, so things are beginning to be tough. And they themselves made one acknowledgement. They said that, at the port, there's contraction at the port, and then construction activities have slowed down considerably. So I think, actually, the solution to this problem does not lie with the central bank. I don't want to blame them at all. I think they are doing what the textbook would tell them to do. It is the Minister of Finance, the fiscal policy that has gone to sleep and needs to wake up immediately, because these are urgent, critical times. All over the world, especially in other countries in Asia, emerging market economy, advanced economy, they are running fiscal deficits. So if we as NDC, MPP, Ghanaians, media, we begin to be so afraid of deficit, and we see deficit as if they are wolves that are coming to kill all of us, then we'll have what we are having. 6.5% deficit in Ghana in this recession is not dangerous. Every government must protect growth. Growth is more important than inflation. Public enemy number one, for me, is not inflation. Public enemy number one is recession, is sacrificing growth, unemployment. And I think that is very risky. It's a timing bomb if we continue to allow people, especially young people, to feel hopeless and to lose jobs and to be unable to survive, and government looks helpless, and we continue to increase the policy rate and things become... So I think that we need to call the Minister of Finance and say, please, you need to come in with some stimulus package. Some taxes must be reduced, including even the e-levy, which is actually becoming quite unpopular.
Dr. Patrick Isumin, another economist, agrees with him. Now, he explains the monetary policy measures can no longer deal with the issues. Well, we'll hear the views of Dr. Patrick Isumin subsequently, but the question to ask is the Bank of Ghana right? Does the figures and the data available support their position that the monetary policies have been working? Isaac Ofieche, who is a data analyst with our research desk, joins me in the studio to give us some fair understanding of what the figures look like. Kofi, is the BOG governor right?
Well, we look at first the monetary policy rates being introduced by the BOG since October 2021, and then we'll take a look and see if this had any effect on the depreciation of the Ghanaian cedi. So if you look at this, you can actually see the movements of BOG's policy rate more or less like steps. This is beautifully arranged. So we started, October 2021. As at this point, the BOG's monetary policy rate was around 13.5%. But fast forward to September 2022, what we are saying is that the upward movement of the policy rate rise from 22% in August to what we have here, the October projection, which is being pegged at 24.5%. But does it have any influence on the depreciation of the cedi? But first, let's test and see the difference between the impact of this monetary policy rate and then inflation. So usually your monetary policy rate, the policy rate should be a bit closer to your inflation rate, so that the rate at which people borrow from the economy can be reduced, and then money can also be absorbed or absorbed from the market. So we're looking at this. There was a point in 2021 where our policy rate was higher than the monetary policy rate. So it was higher than the inflation rate. So somewhere September 2021, you can actually see a policy rate around 13.5%. Inflation was very good, 10.6%, and even at a point it was a single digit. But fast forward, what we see is that we see inflation overtaking the monetary policy rate. So you can actually see the upward movement of inflation right from the 13.9% that the Bank of Ghana referred to now to what we have here being 33.9%. Maybe next week we'll see the Ghana Statistical Service release that of September, then we can actually see the full figure. But there you have it, a big difference between the inflation rates and the policy rate. But what we really want to test is, did this policy rate hikes have any influence or impact on the depreciation of the cedi? So we decided to, plot this graph to see the impact. What do we see here? So September 2021, there was a huge difference between how much the cedi lost per month to how much, depreciation rate we had then. So this should be interactive. I don't know why it's not, but the difference is clear for you to see that, since we started increasing the monetary policy rate, we actually saw a decline in the the depreciating cedi. So here you can see that monetary policy rate was a bit stable. What we saw was that we saw the cedi depreciation rise, and the cedi was losing a lot of its value to the dollar. Then as soon as the Bank of Ghana came in to hike this rate from 14.5 to 17%, what we saw is that the depreciation rate started decreasing. The cedi started, gaining some value. So the depreciation rate started falling from the 8.7% zone. Now it fell to, even when in April, it lost just 0% of its value to the dollar. Then fast forward, Bank of Ghana decided to leave it at a constant rate. We can actually see the the depreciation rising again. Then they came in to hike it again from 17 to 19. Then we saw it, coming down a bit. But now they are putting it at 24.5%. We actually hope to see that this will have a good effect on the depreciation of the cedi.
So point is that it has worked at some point, but it's failed us in some instances.
Absolutely. But
especially from April, May, June, we've seen the cedi continue to fall, even though the monetary policy rate
continued to fall. Yes, although the monetary policy rate was a bit,
was hiked.
hiked. So, but the question is it enough? Was it enough to offset the kind of losses we were getting from the Ghanaian cedi? But so the 24.4%, we are actually hoping that this will help, slow down the rate of depreciation a bit.
Kofi, thank you very much. And let's do some other stories now away from the economy. JoyNews checks reveal activities of illegal miners are rife in the Bosom-Frehon district, especially in the Bosomtwe Forest Reserve. President Akufo-Addo on Wednesday announced the government's interest to investigate the district chief executive, Yao Danso, over his alleged involvement in illegal mining. My colleague Ohime Interior gives insight into the recent concerns raised on mining in that forest reserve.
Land close to the size of 2 football pitches has been destroyed and the forest cover removed by illegal miners who are bent on getting the precious mineral. Bosomtwe Range Forest Reserve has become a hotbed for illegal mining activities in recent times. Section of the reserve in Menti at the Kabunso and Danso has been targeted by Galamsey operators. Deputy Minister of Lands in charge of forestry, Benito Owusu-Bio, during a visit to the reserve on August 22, 2022, described as endemic the activities of illegal miners. He led a team of officers from the ministry, which included the Chief Executive of the Forestry Commission, John Alote.
Range Forest Reserve in the Bosome-Frehon district of Ashanti region, to be precise. This is the 3rd time I'm coming to actually this spot, and I think this place is very endemic with illegal activities.
The visit followed an intervention from the military task force to flush out illegal miners who had destroyed several hectares of the forest. Mr. Owusu-Bio was unhappy there had been little support from the district security committee in the area, headed by Yao Danso, to the illegal mining fight.
The DISEC, the district security, the district assembly, they must be up in doing, because they are here. We in Accra cannot come here all the time. They must be up in doing. They must cooperate with our district managers on the ground, and that will help to stem the tide and the wave of illegal mining activities.
This is River Minty. It is crystal clear upstream here, but down there it has been destroyed by illegal miners. This was the 4th time in 1 year the Forestry Commission had responded to operations of illegal miners in the Bosome-Frehun district. Questions, however, remain unanswered why the portion of the Bosomtwi Range Forest Reserve is a hotbed for illegal miners. From Kumasi, for JoyNews, Oyementiria reporting.
The Dean of the School of Business at the University of Cape Coast, Professor John Gachi, has asserted that the failure to deal with the increasing activities of illegal miners will lead to dire consequences. He detailed that the canker, popularly known as galamsey, will not only affect the safety of food crops and the health of residents, but could also lead to street terrorism, among others. Speaking at the World Teachers' Day celebration in Ho, he entreated teachers to play their roles in the fight against galamsey.
Our communities are now exposed to callous and damaging activities of illegal mining operators. Our major water bodies are polluted and contaminated with different hazardous chemicals that will aggravate diseases relating to internal organs such as the liver, kidney, and the heart, as well as eye problems. Unfortunately, the failure to deal with this terrible situation is being trivialized with sweet leadership comment. The reality is that every part of Ghana will soon be affected by galamsey. We will soon be faced with food terrorism, chemically induced agricultural produce, and be burdened with cost of procuring drugs to treat unwarranted associated sicknesses. Illegal mining and its effect on the environment, health, education, agriculture, and national security is showcasing the state is anemic and powerless. Military task forces were deployed. Major Mahama was killed in the process. Excavators were seized and returned to those known to be politically connected. The impression of weakness is disturbing. Do we want to say we do not have what it takes to stop this, to save Ghana? It is clear that pollution of water bodies and crime against the environment are crimes against humanity. Why is the state docile?
President of the Ghana Catholic Bishops' Conference, Most Reverend Philip Name, says the most effective way to ensure the peace and stability of the country is for government to invest in creating a favorable environment for the youth to thrive. Now, he said, with the increase in terrorist activities in our neighboring countries, government needs to intensify its efforts to create jobs and provide opportunities for the youth in order for them not to be attracted by the offerings of these militant groups. Most Reverend Name was speaking at the launch of the Sahel Peace Initiative at Bogatanga in the Upper East region. Correspondent Albert Sori reports.
It's a project by the Catholic Relief Services. The initiative seeks to focus attention on the growing crisis within the Sahel region of Africa. The Sahel region of Africa includes parts of northern Senegal, southern Mauritania, central Mali, northern Burkina Faso, the extreme south of Algeria, Niger, the extreme north of Nigeria, Cameroon, the Central African Republic, among a few others. With the growing threats of extremist activities in these areas, the Sahel Peace Initiative has been set up in conjunction with the various Catholic Bishops' Conferences of West Africa to raise awareness about these threats, work with stakeholders to find solutions, and respond to the associated humanitarian crisis. Daniel Momoni is country representative at the Catholic Relief Services.
We hear today that more than 50% of Burkina Faso is now controlled by the jihadists, and it calls for urgent attention, particularly for coastal countries within the sub-region. Recently, we saw what happened in Togo. As we've seen, many refugees are now running into Ghana. Recently, we saw so many Burkinabes coming into the country. So how do we mobilize church action, stakeholder action, using intergenerational and interreligious strategies to help combat and protect protect Ghana from these extremist tendencies.
The Ghana launch of the Sahel Peace Initiative was held here in Bolgatanga. In attendance were religious leaders from various faiths and denominations, chiefs and other traditional rulers, security agencies, civil society organizations, and other stakeholders in the security sector.
So after the launch, we've lined up a series of activities, including trainings, sensitization activities, developing early warning systems. There's also an assessment component to identify the hotspots so that the needed intervention can be implemented. There's a mediation component as well.
Delivering the keynote address, President of the Catholic Bishops' Conference and Metropolitan Archbishop of Tamale, Most Reverend Philip Name, said the most effective way to ensure the peace and stability of the country is for governments to invest the country's resources in creating a favorable environment for the youth to succeed in the country.
If the resources of Ghana are used to build up Ghana, it should be so done that every Ghanaian benefits, especially our youth. You do it, otherwise you create the environment for our youth to be very vulnerable to the terrorist groups. Because if you don't create an environment in the country where our youth will always prefer to remain in Ghana rather than taking all kinds of risks to go out where they imagine are greener pastures, we will have our youth seeing no opportunities for them in the country, the only country they have and to which they belong.
He also admonished government to intensify the presence of the security forces at the country's borders.
I personally appeal to the President to particularly make visible the security agencies in those parts of the north that are bordering with other countries. I would say vulnerable to the jihadist invasion. So that anybody coming in to recruit young people will know that not far from the border, they can be resisted there and then.
The launch of the Sahel Peace Initiative in Bolgatanga has come at a time when peace and security have been volatile in areas such as Boko, Doba, and Kandega. Upper East Regional Minister Stephen Yakubu said the launch of the Sahel Peace Initiative in the region was timely.
We all know the test for development in this region, and we know that with conflicts it will be difficult for us to develop together. So any organization that will come to help government to make sure that the region is problem-free is welcome.
For Joy News, Albert Sori reporting from Bolgatanga.
And here in the studio, my name is Ernest with JoyNews today. Time for business, but that's after this break. Stay with us.
Hello, good afternoon. It's time to do business. My name is Beverly Broom. Anglo Gold Ashanti Ghana is pleased with the support of local communities in Obuasi to ward off illegal miners from its concession. The company has had to deal with illegal miners looting large quantities of high-grade gold-bearing materials. Managers are, however, pleased with recent interest of residents to rid the mines of Galamsey activities.
Over the years, Anglo Gold Ashanti has struggled dealing with the activities of illegal miners on its Obuasi mines. Efforts have been made to stop the illegal miners, including arrest. Anglo Gold is also implementing a 3-year socio-economic development plan to offer alternatives to the miners. Senior Manager Sustainability, Emmanuel Baidu, is happy with the gains made so far with the support of residents.
But what I'm excited about is that We have some time ago where a number of the people in Obuasi would have hailed the illegal miners, would have thrown their support behind them. But we are in a situation where people are saying that, no, leave the mine alone. You are frustrating the mine. And we are not pleased with what you are doing. So from that side, I mean, we can see some significant gains.
To keep AngloGold's concession safe, security systems have been enhanced at the mine.
But it's a gradual process. We are strengthening our security. We had a huge support from government, from the state security institutions. We have the huge support of the security. And I think every day and out, we review our security strategies and tighten out those things. The reason why we talk of security, because it's illegality. And there are some people in our society, I mean, no matter what it is, they would want to thrive on illegality.
Emmanuel Baidu spoke to Love Business during a familiarization visit to the Kumasi unit of the multimedia group. He commended the media group for its professionalism and support for business growth.
How do we use our diverse interests to drive the human agenda, to promote development? I believe strongly, and I know that is what multimedia exists for. And truly, that is what AngloGold Ashanti we also exist for. And that is truly how our paths cross, and that's why over the years we have worked closely in promoting this agenda.
General Manager of Love and Insure FM, James Agla, emphasized the company's commitment to playing its role in national development. Mona Lisa Frimpon reporting.
The Association of Ghana Industries has urged businesses to position themselves to take advantage of available grants by implementing the right structures, such as good corporate governance and record keeping. Its Chief Executive Officer, Seth Chumakwabwa, believes that it is the only way that small and medium-scale enterprises can scale up their businesses. He was speaking to Joy Business after interacting with some SMEs in the Western and Central regions. Pointed out that most of the SMEs need a lot of work to do in order to upskill their businesses. Seth Chumakwabwa was speaking at the 19th Annual General Meeting, which coincided with a workshop for its members in the Western and Central regions in Takoradi on the theme, leveraging public-private collaboration to accelerate sustainable industrial development. He mentioned that the AGI will continue to work efficiently to meet the needs of the business community through effective national and international engagement.
We are able to assess the market out there. It is good for us because you get bigger market. On the other hand, if you are not able to assess it and others are also entering your market, they are taking your market away. So either way it's important. You have to watch your own market. You have to be sure that you prepare to at least consolidate your stay here instead of your market being taken away. For that reason, you must always position yourself. So apart from making sure that you consolidate your local market, you must also explore the outside market. So a combination of the two is important. But in doing so, for us and as an association, what we can do, what we have been doing is giving a lot of information to the members. Let them be aware of the various opportunities that exist. Let them be aware of the market arrangements that are available. Let them be aware of the requirements of the whole ACFTA system, the rules of origin and all that. So if you know all this, then it's relatively easier to take advantage of it. So education is key. In addition to education, we work with government ministries and agencies, Ghana Export Promotion Authority and the embassies abroad to try and harness market opportunities. If you make market opportunities available for them, then they can take advantage of it.
Chairman of AGI in the Western and Central regions, Joseph Gabra, noted that currently the private sector finds it difficult to operate as its cost of materials has become high and thus affect the cost of doing business. He therefore called on government to collaborate with the industry to chart a competitive path in order to build and sustain the greater economy for jobs and shared prosperity.
Price of oil, gas, and certain agri products have risen, intensifying inflation pressures. Price hikes and shortages have thus disrupted several industrial productions and severely threatened the survival of most businesses and livelihoods. The current global economy and the economic situation of our country brings into sharp focus the importance of greater collaboration between the public and private sectors for industrial development. Our theme today, leveraging public-private collaboration to accelerate sustainable industrial development, reflects AGI's consistent call on government to collaborate with industry to chart a competitive path in order to build and sustain a stronger economy for jobs and shared prosperity.
Topics discussed include how solar PV can create a business advantage, Ghana Enterprise Agency on GEP's COVID-19 grants Phase 2, and among others. For Joy Business in Athalia Kwanza, Western Region.
That's all for business now, but we have more business on Marketplace at 1 p.m. and also on myjoyonline.com/business. My name is Beverly Broom. Up next, the sports.
Let's do sports now on JoyNews today with me, Muftau Nabila Ablai. President of the Ghana Football Association, Kate Okreku, has lauded Melcom for their decision to extend a sponsorship deal with the football governing body until 2024. He was speaking at the signing of the agreement on Thursday.
If we have a lot more resources to organize more competitions, to invest in our competitions like the Division 1 League, it means we are offering hope. We are offering hope and giving opportunities to boys and girls who would not normally be found from the woods of Ghana. Because what we do as a football association is to scout everywhere in Ghana, bring talents everywhere and give these talents opportunity to have a livelihood. So this relationship will offer brand association with the Ghana Football Association, inclusive of all our products. And believe me, our products are very, very premium, especially in the year where our hard work has resulted in Ghana being part of the 32 countries to be at the biggest football event or football platform.
The Women's Premier League, this is the new season. It starts this afternoon, just in the next few hours. Let's take a look at the fixtures for the competition. And starting from the Northern Zone, we have Pelpia Ladies versus Prison Ladies. Tamale Ladies will come up against Ashtown Ladies. Ampim Dakwa Ladies, who are the defending champions of the competition, will open their title defense against Northern Ladies. Supreme Ladies will come up against Candy Soccer Academy, and Fabulous Ladies will play Dreams Ladies. These are the fixtures for March Day 1 in the Northern Zone. In the Southern Zone, we have Rich City versus Asiam Socrates Ladies. Hazakas Ladies, who lost the final last season, they will come up against Berry Ladies. Thunder Queens will come up against Police Ladies. Soccer Intellectuals will play Fit Ladies. Lady Strikers versus Army Ladies. Fixtures for March Day 1 in the Southern Zone when it comes to the Women's Premier League. And this is our wrap-up sports here on JoyNews today with me, Muftau Nabila Abla. We have more sports stories on myjoyonline.com and also at 2 p.m. when we come your way with an exclusive conversation with the Chief Executive Officer of Berry Ladies, Gifty Owari Mesa.
Thanks for staying with us here on JoyNews today. The Electricity Company of Ghana has expressed disappointment in the Public Utilities Regulatory Commission for failing to hear them before issuing a directive to pay customers compensation for the loss they suffered as a result of a system failure. The regulator issued the directive after more than a week of frustration for hundreds of ECG customers nationwide. Now, speaking at a news conference Thursday, Chief Executive of the ECG, Samuel Mahama, said it will deal with the situation on case-by-case basis.
Everybody who has a problem should follow the grievance process and go through PURC to start the process, and we will deal with it on a case-by-case basis. I still stand by that. It cannot be a block compensation to everybody, because what we are also seeing is that just by one person saying something, there were panic buys. There were people that didn't need to form queues, but were in the queues. So how do I compensate somebody who I shouldn't compensate? In the case of compensation, you have to prove damages, and there's a process for that. We thank PURC for putting out that notice as per their guidelines. It's quite unfortunate that they didn't give us an opportunity to explain our side of the story before they put out that statement. It would have been prudent for them to have heard from us, know what exactly transpired before putting out that statement. But that being said, they are an integral part of our sector. They are a regulator, and we are guided by their rules and regulations. And so we look forward to having a fair hearing. We look forward to putting together the requisite grievance procedures and then requisite team. And then whichever complaints come up, we'll take them on a case-by-case basis.
You're watching News Today with me, Ernest. Up next is World News. And that's our show this afternoon. Grateful for your company. We have more stories on myjoyonline.com. I'm Ernest Mino. Up next is the Marketplace. Stay tuned.